Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Sox On Tap.
Tony, my first reaction is just, fuck yes, let's go.
Sox versus the Twins. That's where it all starts. It all starts taking care of business in-house in the Central Division.
That's right, I'm a meatball.
You got to bring that top button swag, baby.
It is always great to beat the Cubs.
And I'm a homer, so I always say they're gonna.
Dallas Keuchel Lansing got some beards that you should be afraid of.
What everybody said when he gets out there, it's me versus the other guy, and I'm going to beat him. So I just love that mentality. It's cool and fucking tough.
Steve, would you say that Tony is mad online?
I would definitely say that.
The White Sox winner.
Hello, White Sox fans. It's Tony Marchese. Tonight, I'm joined by my guy, NWI Steve. Steve, the regular season has come to an end here. How are you feeling, my friend? Happy Sunday Funday to you.
Hey, yo, Tone, I'm feeling good. Got a decent night's sleep last night for the first time in several weeks. Been running wild here for about a month now, so it was nice to be able to finally do that. Closed out the regular season. I will say I'm a little bit concerned that we don't have any momentum going into the playoffs here. We're really kind of limping into this thing after this performance today. So I talked about it going back to February and spring training that you have to take every game like it's Game 7 of the World Series, and you have to build momentum, and you have to set the tone. And I've got concerns now heading into Houston on Thursday.
I'm not surprised that you say that. I know you got a great night's sleep last night. I'm happy for you. I saw that you and some of the boys were out cracking them on Friday night. I'm glad you got your rest. But I'm not surprised that you say, Steve, that you're concerned that the White Sox were unable to obtain victory today in the season finale. Steve, it's a shame, man. It's a total shame.
It really is, because we all know that you have to have momentum going into the postseason, and losing the game to the Detroit Tigers on the last day of the season, that's just, you have to wonder, is there going to be a carryover effect now going into Houston on Thursday? And Tone, kind of circling back to what you were just talking about there, we had a great time on Friday. Me and Buzzy, we took an early train down there. We may or may not have partaken in a little 12-pack on the train on the way down there, as I was doing some conference calls on the train while I was drinking. And then, we got to the lot, kind of walked around a little bit, and Johnny wasn't quite there yet. So we met up with Iowa Zach and his wife at Cork, got after it a little bit there, then Johnny and the whole rest of the crew there. So a great time was had by all. And you were, conspicuously absent right there.
Steve, sometimes the president and the vice president cannot be in the same place at the same time. That's a security thing. So I can't comment on where I was during the festivities that would have been the halfway to St. Patrick's Day, which is one of my favorite White Sox promotions. So I was very sad to not be in attendance for that ball game, considering that the White Sox did put on a rather good display, Steve, a rather good display, a lot of fireworks, a lot of happiness, a lot of beer being drank. I wish I was there, Steve, but I cannot comment on where I was or my whereabouts. You'd have to get in touch with my people, and if you need that kind of information.
Listen, if we're talking about a security issue, that's totally understandable. I'll have my assistant get in touch with yours here. We'll kind of talk through that. And we got to make sure that we're in lockstep as we start the most important week of White Sox baseball in a long time here. And boy, does it feel good to say that.
It absolutely does, Steve. And enough of the formalities here as we get into this. I thought it was awesome. You guys got out there and tore it up a little bit. It looked fun to watch. And the game itself, Steve, I know we haven't been on these airwaves in a little while. We've got Jason Hosking here. Jason, hello. He says, good day, my brothers. Hello to you, Jason, out there in Iowa. I hope you're cracking them. Hopefully it's Bud Diesel, or if you're rolling in the Steve option, that would be Coors Lights. It's probably Buzz, though. I'm going to guess that Jason's drinking Miller Lights tonight. Steve, it's awesome to see that we've got the White Sox going into the postseason this year, second year in a row. God, does it just feel fucking good to say that, does it?
It really does, and it feels great, particularly to say that, just coming off of what was maybe the most fun season I can remember going back to 2005. there have been a number of seasons that have been pretty fun and pretty entertaining to be at the ballpark regularly over the course of my adult life. 2006 was fun up until mid-September. 2010 was fun. They had a 39-11 game stretch there in the middle part of the season when I remember they went 10-0. They swept the homestand at one point. 2012 being in first place for 119 days. But to cap it off, winning a division title and to have everybody just come together the way that we did this year, coming off of the pandemic, not being able to see this team live in person last year, incrementally building back the attendance capabilities, getting back to full capacity, and just being able to be out at the ballpark with everybody. And then for this team to come together the way they did, overcome the adversity, and win a division title. Damn, this was a fun fucking year.
Steve, it was. And you know what? I tweeted this out earlier. It went by so fast. It went by fast for me. This year seemed to have flown by. I know they always say, time flies when you're having fun, but I think that adage is pretty true in this sense. Some of these other years, Steve, when I look back over the last 5, except for last year, you could throw 2020 out. Those were long seasons. The end of those seasons somewhat couldn't come soon enough for teams that were struggling. There was, when you're waiting on September call-ups to see something new, and you don't have that race down to clinch a division or get into a wild card. Those seasons felt like they took forever. This flew by.
You're absolutely right, Tone. I remember Ozzie Guillen once famously said, "Fun is winning and winning is fun." And that couldn't be any more true than what we saw this year. And when you're winning, when you're going out there, when you're in first place and in control of a division for as much of the season as the Sox were, it really did fly by. And to think that, we were it feels like just yesterday, we were getting ready to do the season preview show. And we were sitting anxiously waiting until 9:00 on a Thursday night for the opener in Anaheim with Lucas Giolito on the mound. It doesn't feel that long ago. And to now be in a position where we're sitting here waiting anxiously for 4 days to get to game 1 in Houston. It's crazy how quickly this all went.
It is. And I look back through some of this, and obviously this is the final Sunday Funday regular season episode of Sox on Tap. And Steve, this has been a fun year of doing this. I think there's been some really cool moments. And before we break down, some of the stuff that went on at the ballpark this weekend, or get into any sort of, series preview with Houston, I kind of want to just take this Sunday Funday to kind of go over some of those cool moments of the year, Steve. And I think that we have to take a trip down memory lane here to truly appreciate what the White Sox did this season. And like we both said, it was one of our favorite seasons. So Steve, take it back. You talk about opening day for this team, and you go and look back here. We had some questions on roster spots coming out of spring training. We weren't quite sure what we were going to get out of this ball club. Tony La Russa was a very hot topic. And then, right out of the gate, man, people might forget this in the grand scheme of things, but chapter 1 of what could potentially be just a terrific World Series DVD is the Yerman Mercedes month that was April of 2021.
You're absolutely right. Yermin really did, in a lot of ways, carry this team offensively for the first month of the season. As we saw Jose Abreu struggle, obviously didn't have Eloy Jimenez. Yoan Moncada had some ups and downs in there. So really, Yermin did, in a lot of ways, help keep this team afloat as they were sorting through some of the early season issues and some of the early season malaise that they went through. And that shouldn't be forgotten. The fact that the league figured him out that's not really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, because the overwhelming likelihood was they were going to figure out a guy that was a 29-year-old rookie. He was a 29-year-old rookie for a reason. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that contribution that he made during the month of April should not be forgotten, because that's a big part of the reason why this team has a Central Division banner hanging at the ballpark at 35th and Shields, and don't lose sight of that.
I mean, I think one of my favorite points in this year, Steve, and I don't know if you were on Twitter.com during this, but somebody posted a picture in Denver around the All-Star game of a photo that had Yermin Mercedes on one of the banners in the streets promoting the All-Star game. That was just one of my favorite moments of this season, and I don't know why. It was just kind of comical. But for the month of April, Steve, he was the face of baseball in a lot of different ways. He put the White Sox on the map a little bit in the media. He was polarizing. He had just an incredible streak. And I mean, somebody even named a burger after him. It was an incredible April for Yermin Mercedes.
It really was, and I can't help but laugh a little bit being at the ballpark here these last couple of months and seeing the people that I don't even know how much an authentic jersey costs now. What is that, like $150 now at this point?
Like somewhere around. I mean, inflation's got to be like over $200 now.
I mean, to think that people actually spent the money on an authentic Yermin Mercedes jersey after a month, it's borderline comical if we're being completely honest with you. And then
there's people that did it.
Yeah,
people that did it, and for a while, Yermin Mercedes was the reason to tune into White Sox baseball. Like, just going back here, the White Sox spent a lot of money to remake a Terminator commercial with Yermin Mercedes in it.
Yeah,
he was the reason you were showing up to the ballpark early on in the year.
I
It's
mean,
just fascinating to see right now, if we look back at that,
yeah,
where we're at now.
For me, early on in the season, I was going to the ballpark a lot, just trying to see if I could make sense of the Lance Lynn trade, because that was a deal that obviously happened over the winter. They gave up Dane Dunning, who had a phenomenal Sierra through 4 starts, and has a lot of contractual control. And I was just left wondering why was this deal made? So I had to spend a lot of time, and I made a conscious effort to go to every single one of Lance Lynn's home starts, just trying to get to the bottom of all of this here. I think in my world anyway, the Yermin Mercedes was a nice little subplot, but that's really what I was locked in on.
I knew you were, Steve, and our guy Jason, who's also drinking a Miller Lite, like I called. So I'm not gonna toot my own horn too much here, but Jason bought a Yermin bat, and I know a lot of people who bought some Yermin stuff. You're not the only one. I mean, a lot of people thought that Yermin Mercedes would have been the next star. They just didn't know that Gavin Sheets existed. Steve, the Dane Dunning trade, let's talk about that, because that actually did set the table here. And I know you're going to hunt for the answers, but for 1 second, let's step into this. That kind of set the table for the White Sox a little bit in the rotation. And let's just talk about how Lance Lynn comes out of the gate and just sets the tone for this rotation the way that Dallas Keuchel should have.
That the home opener, Lance Lynn getting the ball and taking that thing and just telling the Kansas City Royals, you're fucked today. You might as well not even show up. He goes out there, throws a complete game shutout. We saw it in the season montage that they were playing all weekend here, and just the raw emotion that guy showed after he got that final strikeout there to wrap that thing up. That really did set a tone, I think, for this pitching staff, because you have a lot of, I think, really soft-spoken guys that don't show a great deal of emotion within the starting rotation. And look, you can't have, 13 or 14 pitchers that are all crazy, insane lunatics like Lance Lynn, like Liam Hendricks. You do have to have that blend of personalities. But Lance Lynn brought an edge to this rotation that they have not had probably since Jake Peavy was out there competing for the boys. And you have to have a guy like that.
Peavy.
He just wanted to go out there and just win for the boys,
Yes.
He's just out there just grinding, and just, he made bad pitches. God bless it, and
wow.
But,
we're getting heated here.
Yeah. Hey, bringing the heat tonight, baby.
I love his Phillips Chevrolet commercial. Sorry, I'm just throwing some stuff out there.
But, Lynn just bringing that mindset and that veteran presence to this rotation of really young guys. And, obviously Dallas Keuchel's not a young guy, but he's not a fiery, emotional guy out there. So Lynn being that guy, bringing that level of presence, I think really kind of showed to guys like Lucas Giolito, like Carlos Rodon, like Dylan Cease that, hey, when you've got the ball in your hand, you're the one in control. You need to act like it. You need to take that ball and you need to say, we're winning this game today you don't got a chance. Have that mindset. And I think it's important to have a guy like that on every rotation.
I think it is too, Steve. And I think that, while we'll still be searching for the answer as to why Dane Dunning was traded off of this roster, and I hope that we can gain some more evidence over this next upcoming offseason as to, why that happened.
Wait a minute. Tony, hold on. My sources are indicating part of the reason may be because in a couple days, Lance Lynn is actually going to throw a pitch, whereas Dane Dunning, even if he were on the White Sox still, probably wouldn't be.
I think you just unturned another clue.
I'm going to work to confirm this.
Work to confirm it,
as always,
and we'll see what happens. All right, Steve, we're gonna move through a few other great White Sox moments this year, and let's talk a little bit just real quick. I know we could probably do a whole nother hour on this topic alone, but Carlos Rodon and him returning to this White Sox staff, what was that we witnessed this year out of Carlos Rodon, and how special was he for quite a long while? I know we've got some question marks. We'll talk about that towards the end. Let's talk about the good here real quick. Carlos Rodon coming back this year in basically the fifth starter role entering the year. What happened there?
This was the guy that the Sox thought they were getting with the number 3 overall pick in the draft out of NC State back in 2014. This is the type of performance that they were anticipating that entire time. And he finally put it all together. And I think one of the interesting stories, and I don't know if anybody really remembers this, but obviously early on with Ethan Katz assuming the role as pitching coach here, one of the stories that came out, I think it was probably James Fegan at The Athletic, was talking to Katz specifically about Rodon and got him to really understand that he needed to utilize his lower body more when it came to his mechanics. And for Carlos Rodon to have been in the league for as long as he was and not understand the emphasis that needed to be placed on his lower half was, I think, something pretty telling. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to say that Don Cooper was a bad pitching coach, because Don Cooper was one of the top pitching coaches in the league for a long time. But there were a lot of things that over the last 5 to 6 years that I really had issue with Don Cooper. And so bringing in a fresh set of eyes, I think in a lot of cases can help pitchers like a Carlos Rodon hear just a different voice, hear something articulated in a different manner that all of a sudden unlocks it. And we saw that from him this year. And my God, was that important.
So one thing that I'll just touch on briefly, Steve, about pitching coaches, and this is just my firm belief, is some guys with the right pitching coach are just going to succeed. Other guys who might work better under a different pitching coach are going to regress, just based on the philosophies of whatever guy is holding that job at that point in time. So you're going to see, what you get out of Carlos Rodon and Ethan Katz this year. That might have been the change he needed. Might not have been the change that other guys on this staff needed, because other guys, maybe when you talk about the lower half, and if that was something that Katz had him focus on, maybe that wasn't Don Cooper's game, and he had some arms underneath him that just knew that naturally. So it's like fitting puzzle pieces together. That's what it is. And you get just the perfect combination of guys. And I think that they clicked. And I think that had a huge impact on Carlos Rodon's game in 2021. And I like that you bring that up. I'm not trying to slight Don Cooper either. I just think it probably was a little bit better fit for Carlos Rodon, given the tenure that was here and what you saw out of him this year versus everything else.
You're absolutely right. And one other thing that I'll go back to, when Terry Francona left Boston after the 2011 season, I remember seeing the clip on MLB Network of his final press conference with the Red Sox at Fenway Park. And he said something that I think is important. He said, sometimes you just need a different voice. And I think that that's absolutely true, whether it's in sports or even in professional settings, Tony, like what you and I do on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes you just need a different voice to come in and, like I said earlier, just articulate a message differently than what has been done for such an extended period of time. And then all of a sudden something can click. And that we saw that with Carlos Rodon this year.
We've got a special guest that just entered the room, Steve, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to bring him in.
Oh wow! This is an unexpected run-in. Who we got?
An unexpected run-in. We've got our guy Buzz on tap here.
Oh,
He made it.
Hey, guys.
What's
What's
up,
up,
stud?
Buzz?
You realize the next game we're playing and we're talking is going to be the playoffs? You guys
Yes.
realize that?
Playoffs?
So I got the AOK from Rena, and as Steve knows, she's attached to my hip just like you do, Tony. He got to experience it on Friday before we left for the game. But I got the AOK to come downstairs. I just had to bribe her with Tangled. I was listening to you guys in my earpiece, and I asked if I could come down and join you, and she said I can. Just leave the movie on.
I gotta say, you look very sophisticated in them glasses today. Whew.
You do.
Dude, I have not worn my contacts since Friday night because I fell asleep with them in my head, and it was just the absolute worst.
I mean, that was obviously a function of the fact that we went kind of pretty hard there.
As the kids say, we went ham.
There
It was absolutely great Friday night, and I wanted to drop in and say hey to my boys because, like, it's a special moment. And the only thing I wanted to share, and I'll get into organic conversation if you'll keep me. If not, you tell me to go the hell away and watch Tangled. That's fine too. But I did just want to come on and say, guys, it's the 2021 regular season with you, Tony, you, Steve, and Johnny was an absolute pleasure to do all the post games and Sunday Fundays we did. Anybody that joined us during this whole process and talked with us, and make sure if you're listening to us on Twitter to go over to YouTube and subscribe so we can see your comments because Twitter, but it was an absolute pleasure. And now that it's over and we are now heading into the postseason, I am just absolutely, guys, I'm on one, dude.
See, I don't like saying it's over. I like to say it's a new beginning because we're beginning something very, very, that could be very special here on Thursday.
I agree. And like the dad's nights that Tony and I had out at the ballpark, Steve, the games that we hit, we knew that this was for a greater good. We knew in our hearts in the beginning of the season that this was going to happen, like that we were going to get there. We really, even though I think some of us said wild card, I know I did, and I was very wrong, but I did say that. But now we're here into the new beginning, and it's just amazing. So that's what I wanted to share real quick, and now we can get back into the organic conversation. I heard you talking about Rodon, Tony. Can you just fill me in? I missed a little bit of it.
Yeah, you know what, Buzz, we're taking a trip down memory lane before we break anything else down. So we kind of talked a little bit about Yerman Mercedes and
yeah,
what
I saw
April
that
meant, and now we're just talking about Rodon. And I don't want to talk.
We tried to get to the bottom of the Dane Dunning trade with
we
Lance
did.
Lynn,
and then now we're just trying to just appreciate Carlos Rodon. I got a few more notes here. I actually have kind of an outline for this show. I'm trying to play Johnny.
I can't
You
wait.
know,
What?
I'm trying to play Johnny.
Wait,
you made
I've
got like a little outline of some topics that we're going down tonight. It's fantastic, isn't it? You know, we're gonna go down these topics here, but one of them is Carlos Rodon and just the good and everything that came of it that was so unexpected this season.
Yeah, I wrote. I think that was like one of the people I covered the most in writing a lot of the White Sox stuff this year. As you guys know, since 2019 when we started the show, and last year in 2020, you guys know I was always enamored with Rodon. I always thought that he was going to be good, and I have articles in the early days of On Tap just writing about all of that. And his ascent into superstardom, it just was where he was going in the beginning of the year, and being a Cy Young candidate and all of that, just his numbers. I mean, I wrote an article today on it. You find it at On Tap. I mean, it was just amazing. But the first half and the second half numbers, while the numbers are still good, you see the games drop because he missed a lot of time. 10 days, 11 days in between starts, guys. And that was very concerning with the report that came out. And Tony, you and I were texting about it a little bit earlier today. The report that came out that they're going to test him out on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a tale of two Rodons. It was the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And unfortunately, this guy, I don't think this guy can get out of his own way. It's not his fault. It's the same thing I've equated to Derrick Rose in the past. It wasn't his fault he kept getting hurt, man, or his body was breaking down on him. It happens in life no matter what profession you're in. Unfortunately for him, he's in the spotlight, and it just kind of went away. But some of the starts that he gave us, the no-hitter that he gave us this year, electric moments across the board. And it was an absolute pleasure to see him get the recognition that he deserved and somewhat live up to that draft position. And that's my take on it.
Steve, anything about Rodon, the no-hitter that, Perez kind of fucked the perfect game? Like, I'm just going back down memory lane here. There was some highs.
That no-hitter, I think for him, you could tell in the post-game interview, that was a very emotional moment for him. Obviously, coming back off of the Tommy John, the inconsistency that he has had from the time that he's really been with the White Sox, not quote-unquote living up to his draft position, as Buzz alluded to. So that was a very emotional moment for him, and that was almost like the coming out party for him, telling the rest of the league, hey, I'm the guy that you all thought I was going to be, and I'm going to show you now. And for him to do that against the Cleveland Indians, it was just delicious.
Absolutely was. And I think that, it being the Cleveland Indians for me, just that was one of those rivalry moments. And I think that if we look back as White Sox fans through this year, Cleveland and Minnesota within the AL Central were the teams early on this year that I fucking hated. And towards the end of the year, I don't know about you guys, Detroit might be my next target for the next few years. And we'll have to see how that story plays out. But I'm going to keep this one moving. So we're going to move away from Carlos Rodon, the Lance Lynn stuff. Let's get towards May and June. Let's talk about the impact that some of these guys on this team had that were not your big names, because you thought coming into this year you were going to have Eloy Jimenez. You thought you were going to have Luis Robert just out there every day. We were battered with injuries. The resiliency this team showed was second to none. Let's talk about guys like Billy Hamilton. Let's talk about guys like Brian Goodwin. Let's talk about guys that came out of the woodwork and really kept this together. I'll go to Buzz first, and I'll turn it to Steve. Through May, June, through those down periods, who was the guy that you had the most fun watching in a White Sox uniform that isn't one of the core guys? Buzz.
It's tough, man. When Billy came up, he made an impact, but I have to say Goodwin, that first game Goodwin had here, you guys remember that? It was amazing. Long ball, a double. I mean, it was just like, everybody's like, why the hell did Pittsburgh, let this guy just
Pitcher
walk?
Puked on the mound in that game.
Yeah. I mean, it was just
so scared of the White Sox.
It was just amazing. I think I had the most fun out of non-core guys. And I'd like to say Gavin Sheets, not to steal your thunder, because he's been in the system or whatever. I'm assuming you're talking about guys that aren't like Tim
May,
Anderson.
June guys. I'm going to exclude Gavin Sheets from that, because I think he was a late season call up, and I think there's maybe another question coming down the line here from rookie guys that may have come up. But I'm talking, your Goodwins, your Jake Lambs, those types of folk.
Yeah, it'd have to be Goodwin for me, because even if you look at the numbers from Billy in June, I mean, I think he only bat 111 in June. He wasn't he had some spectacular moments, some stolen bases, some good defensive sequences and stuff like that. But when Goodwin came up, Goodwin was just a beast. And in the month of June, Goodwin hit 250 with an OBP of 350, 2 home runs and 7 RBIs, 52 at bats, 16 games in June. Goodwin came up and was a beast. And I really enjoyed watching him. He had good moments in the field too. As the season got a little later and progressed, we saw some lapses there. But no, I think that Goodwin by far was the dude that surprised the shit out of me. And I think I had the most fun watching it, outside of, like you said, of the core guys.
Steve?
I don't know that there was really one guy specifically. I think that collectively, you look at all of these guys, like Buzz mentioned, with the moments with Goodwin, that first game in Detroit. I was at the 2 games back to back when Billy Hamilton had his 2 home runs this year. So getting to see those, some of the Jake Lamb, or excuse me, as our buddy, White Sox Sal likes to say, Jake Clam, with some of his home runs. Just collectively seeing these guys make their contributions when they weren't individuals that were going to be counted on coming into the season, that's something that's really important that we haven't seen from a White Sox team in an extended period of time, if we're being honest. For so long, as a Sox fan, you would see these key injuries to guys like Eloy, Luis Robert, Madrigal, when they all went down, and that would torpedo a season because they wouldn't have competent major league options that they would be able to plug in their spots. And while all of those guys individually have their flaws, you combine all of them together and you got pivotal moments from each one of them. So the sum was greater than the whole was greater than the sum of the parts. If that makes a lot of sense there. They all made individual contributions in different ways. Billy, obviously, a lot on the defensive side and on the base running side. Jake Lamb hitting some pivotal home runs. So I think just collectively seeing that was the biggest thing for me and really helped keep this team afloat because for the first time in a long time, they had functional depth.
I agree with that, Steve. It was functional depth that we didn't expect to have. And we haven't had it. And when a lot of these injuries took place, I think that there were legitimate question marks as to how this team would be able to stay afloat. And they did it so well. One name, though, to me, and I know this isn't an answer, I think you guys touched on Hamilton and Goodwin a lot. One name that really kept everything together was Andrew Vaughn for a little while. And that's a name to me that's also unexpected, and I think adds to that functional depth almost.
That's actually really fair, Tony. That's fair.
Yeah. One name that adds to that is Andrew Vaughn, and I think you can classify him with rookies, but I also think you can classify him as almost like a major league journeyman, which is so weird because he came in and he held down left field in a position that he never played before. So early on, that it was almost like you've got this guy out there that's just played this baseball game for 40 years and it's just solid. And he gives you 2 good months. He kind of served as that glue that held everything together for the White Sox through that stretch of time where you didn't have Eloy Jimenez. You didn't have a superstar and you needed to lean on someone. And Andrew Vaughn was there pretty much every day out there in left field, just playing good baseball. And so I think, outside of what Goodwin was able to give you, outside of what Hamilton was able to give you, Andrew Vaughn was a question mark in his own right, and he handled everything with flying colors through that stretch of time.
I guess I kind of looked at him as a part of the core, just because he was drafted so highly, and I know that he didn't get the minor league experience due to COVID and everything like that. He just kind of got thrust into the major league roster. And I mean, that shows confidence in him from Rick Hahn to just have him do that off the bat and whatever. But you bring up a good point, man. I mean, that guys, I mean, he played like every position on the field except like shortstop and center field this year and catcher. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. He played left field, he played right field, he played third base, he played second base, he played first. I mean, wherever you wanted to put him, you put him. And
have we seen a White Sox player been able to do that?
Outside of Lurie
Garcia?
I don't know.
I think Andrew Vaughn is way different than Lurie Garcia in the aspect that he could play some of those corner positions, and his bat has a lot more pop. So it's a little bit different. I think that there's an edge there
too. I think he might have done it this year. I remember Jake Lamb playing third. I remember Jake Lamb playing second. I remember Jake Lamb playing left and right. I mean, I'm not going to say effectiveness.
Yeah, there's something different about Andrew Vaughn, though. I think the ceiling is way higher.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to say effectiveness or anything. I'm just saying I was surprised to see somebody bounce around like that, who's basically never bounced around like that in the past for Lamb. I mean, I just thought that was kind of cool out of him. I know he's not with the team any longer, but I mean, he kind of did that too, but not to the effectiveness of your point that Andrew Vaughn did. You're 100% correct.
I think that's pretty spot on there, counselor.
It's just incredible. Like, I'm going back down memory lane here. That's what we're doing. We're going back down memory lane because we're going to relive this season. And let's get into July and let's get into August a little bit here, guys. The White Sox got themselves a pretty healthy lead in the division as May and June went on. Obviously, we had some issues that started to arise with the team. And there was a lot of drama around Tony La Russa and the demise of the guy that we just talked about, Yerman Mercedes. Now, in a sense, some people believe that all press is good press. So I want your guys' take on this one final time as we go through here, looking back at it through what we have right now. The Yerman Mercedes situation that transpired against the hated Minnesota Twins, the swing 3-0 situation. That was a rough moment because as we go back through everything, the White Sox went into a little bit of a slide afterwards, came back out of it. Thoughts on that now? Steve, I'll go to you.
Yeah, so I've got thoughts on this. I've got a lot of thoughts on this here. So obviously the Sox were beating the ever-loving shit out of the Twins that night, which you love to see. And my thought of it is this, okay? If you're going to play a stupid game and you're going to put a position player out there trying to be cute and trying to be funny, because ultimately at that point, the Twins, I think at that point were like maybe 8.5, 9 games back, but there was still a lot of season left to be played. Okay, so they were essentially conceding that game, trying to save their bullpen in effort to try to win the following 2 games there. So if you're telling me that you're going to wave the white flag and you're just going to throw a position player out there to try to be cute, and when he got outs, he was giggling, laughing out there on the mound, you throw a 3-0 little lollipop down there, hit that shit to the fucking moon. Yermin Mercedes did nothing wrong in that spot, and I will forever take that position on it. You want to play a stupid game, you're going to get stupid prizes. Okay? That's first thing. Tony La Russa's response to that situation, I wholeheartedly disagreed with. I believe 100% that you talk about the old school mentality of playing the game the right way, respecting the game. Again, the Twins weren't respecting the game by throwing a position player out there lobbing 60-mile-an-hour lollipops out there. How is that respecting the game? Okay, so I take issue with that position on it. And then for him to basically come out and say, well, I expect your main to get thrown at the next day, and essentially being okay with your main division rival going out there and saying, we're going to take out one of your guys right there. And him just being like, it's fine. I thought that was complete bullshit. What followed subsequently, and a lot of the national narrative that surrounded it, then stating that was the downfall of Yermin Mercedes, that was the reason why he ultimately got sent down to Charlotte, why we haven't seen him since. That was complete and utter bullshit. If you actually go and if you look at the facts, he was on that downward trajectory before that even happened. Now, he had a little bit of a dead cat bounce directly after that, because I think it was 3 days later on the Friday night against Detroit at home. I remember being at that game when Mercedes had a walk-off single to beat the Tigers. But you could see that train had already left the station a little bit, that there was no coming back at that point. That wasn't a direct result of Tony La Russa coming out and publicly reprimanding him, which, again, I wholeheartedly disagreed with. But for people to sit there and just utilize this as an opportunity to push a narrative because they didn't like the Tony La Russa hire from the outset, to say, oh, look at this, he ruined this kid. Bullshit.
You had a lot of thoughts on that, and I'm glad I gave you the floor here, because I feel like there was a lot of things that went unsaid, Steve, and I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Well, look, I think a lot of this has been regurgitated and probably talked about to death at this point, but you still see people talking about it. You still, even as this team has clinched the division, seeing people out there.
You saw it brought up when they were in Milwaukee on a Sunday night on a national broadcast. You saw it the week later on another national broadcast about it. So as we talk about this team,
you saw stuff, coming into last week when they clinched the division, and people saying, still trying to push this area. I saw some things when I came back and reemerged on the Twitter.com. And kind of looking at some things and pulling up quotes about, as Tim Anderson, questioning, the Tony La Russa hire and everything. They just won a division title, and we're still doing this. Come on at this point.
Yep, and that's why this was on my note plan to talk about as we go down memory lane. I told Buzz is so proud of me that I planned.
I'm really proud of you to even have an outline. Usually when Tony and I go, we just were like, fuck it. Here we go. It's just whatever. We're going to
just scribble down on this little notepad right here.
Yeah.
Here's the outline. Here we go. Buzz, I want to give you the floor here real quick to talk about that incident, because I just want to kind of level set this one, and then we're gonna fast track this a little bit to the Field of Dreams game and in the second half of the season,
Okay.
And some All-Star stuff. But talk about what impact that made on the season, at least in your eyes.
So it's all about perspective at this point, right? And this is where it gets a little cloudy. Now, Yermin Mercedes started the season off hot. We just talked about that. In April and March, the guy hit 415. I mean, he 455 OBP. He had 5 home runs, 16 ribbies. He was putting the bat on the ball. He was making things happen. May 21st is when this transpired with Tony La Russa. Now, the numbers in May are really bad. And again, I'm telling you this happened on the 21st of May. So that's at the end of the month. You guys know that just as well as I do. 21st of May, end of the month. Alex Rude and Jordan Miller actually pointed this out as everybody was kind of having a conniption fit about this. And I was one of the guys that had a conniption fit about it. And I'm going to tell you why I had a conniption fit. Everything that Steve just said. If you're going to respect the game, don't throw out a position player because you're not respecting it. You're being a douche. And if you're going to concede a game, I don't care what little league rules are. This is the major leagues. You're going to pay for your mistakes. You're going to pay for your sins. And whoever's up there, I want a dinger too. It's exactly what I want. Make them pay, make them look silly because they're treating it like a joke. Then you show them how much of a joke they are. The comments about basically being all right with Yermin getting plunked. I don't care if one of you, stole a car. I'm going to say you didn't do it. I don't care. Like you're my brothers. That's just at the end of the day, it's what it is. I stick up for the people that are a part of my clique and that I care about. So I didn't like that either. Now, with all the scrutiny going into the season and all of this just crazy dialogue that was opened up about Tony La Russa being the manager and how people hated it and his mistakes off the field or his old school mentality and all that. Yeah, it did. It clouded my judgment for sure. I wanted him fucking gone. I'm like, dude, you're going to be cool with one of your guys getting hit. It's just absolutely bullshit. So going and looking at it in May, he was hitting 221 anyway. He was on a downward slope. This was not the demise, even though at the time I said it did. Hindsight's 2020. You can always go look back at the numbers and you can, prove yourself wrong. And I'll say the first thing right now, I was 100% wrong. I blamed almost all of it on Tony La Russa. That was not the case. Yermin got figured out. And Steve had said it when I was listening on my ear pod before I came on. There's a reason he was a 29-year-old rookie. The numbers just show it, Tone. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, you went from that March and that April at 415. You went into May at 221, like I just told you. And we had 18 games there in June, 16 of which were started with a 159, 221, and a 190 slugging percentage. I mean, he was just on a downward spiral. He was figured out. And that's what happened. Now, super magical. And he is a big reason. I think the White Sox got a lot of national media attention at the beginning of the year. Didn't he open up 8-9 straight games with a hit, like first person rookie to ever do something like that or something like, amazing shit out of him. It just, it didn't work out. And where I stand with it is I'm now that we're a division title winner and we're moving into the playoffs. That was just a little speed bump in the road that did not derail anything, even though there was narratives from not only fans, but the national media as well. And even myself included as a guy that covers the team, it meant nothing. That clubhouse is still strong as hell. And, they went and won. So it is what it is at that point.
Love what both of you guys said. I do. I think you guys both know I was a fan of the hire when it happened. I thought that when this went down, that there was going to be a lot of criticism, and rightfully so. I think that there was points to be made. I can see that argument. I think that there was also a lot of scapegoating that took place. Steve, you kind of alluded to that. One thing that I'm a firm believer in is that Tony La Russa isn't dumb. He's not a dumb guy. He's won a couple World Series. He's a college-educated man. He knows what he's doing. Does that mean that he's going to be right all the time? No, none of us are. None of us as humans are ever going to be right all the fucking time. It's just not going to happen. Did he take a calculated move? Did he probably think about what he said before he said it? Yeah. Did it go in the direction that he wanted to? No. But, 9 times out of 10, you've got guys in this clubhouse that are coming out and saying good things about him. You've seen the White Sox have success with him. He said all the right things, at least in my mind. I think he's also been almost overly humble since, winning the division title. You heard him today talking about how managers would line up to pay for this job. I'm sure there were guys that wanted to come manage this team. There's a lot of young talent on this team. The people are going to try and draw this narrative out over and over again. I just think that, overall, that situation led to a huge storyline for this team. And I think that it actually helped bond them a little bit more in the long run, because you saw players come out after this incident. You saw Jose Abreu come out after this incident, talk about what Tony La Russa means to the ball club. And you've seen it in subsequent posts that are out there on Twitter and, interactions that guys have had with Tony La Russa throughout the year, whether that be Yohan Moncada, Jose Abreu, just different things.
Let's talk about what Tim Anderson said directly after that. When he came out and when he said, this is sometimes like a relationship with parents and their children. And sometimes we're the bad kids that don't listen. Mm-hmm. There's times where, and I'm sure we can all relate to this, that growing up, your parents will put certain rules in place that you're not going to agree with. And there's going to be certain instances where, depending on the severity of the rule, you're going to test it and you're going to test and see how far you can push the envelope a little bit. And this was, kind of one of those instances. And Timmy coming out and basically saying that, he can talk about this old school mindset and, quote unquote, respecting the game. Doesn't mean that we're not going to just, do things how we want to do them, because we're changing the game. That's literally the slogan here. So there's going to be times where we're going to do things that he's not going to agree with. And that's just life.
I love that. And Steve, I want to take that a step further. That has to be uncomfortable for a guy like Tony La Russa to sit in that position, holding those values with a team that has a marketing slogan, "We're going to change the game." That has to be uncomfortable for him to an extent. And I don't think that people have kind of brought that up, that you've got a team with the literal marketing slogan is "change the game," when the narrative around Tony La Russa has been, and it was before he came to the White Sox, the narrative around Tony La Russa was respect the game, keep it the way it is, which also the irony in that statement, Steve, and something that you brought up the last time you and I talked, was how Tony La Russa changed baseball, how he changed the way that starting pitching and relief pitching worked. He's already changed the game. He's now managing a team that's changing it right before our eyes.
It certainly is a fascinating
somewhat
dynamic.
Poetic.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a very fascinating dynamic to see that, and to see, really for the most part, he has pretty much stayed out of their way. You look at some of the emotion that Tim showed when he hit the walk-off home run in Dyersville, Iowa. You talk about Brian Goodwin flipping his bat all the way to the moon when he hit that walk-off against Cleveland on July 31st or August 1st, whenever the hell it was. I mean, those are things that, you talk for a guy that is as staunch of an old school mindset as he is portrayed to be, he didn't really seem to have an issue with that.
I'll add one more to that. His shortstop this week told an umpire, "I don't give a fuck." And there was no response to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely something where, you would have thought that he would have come out and said, "Oh, you can't do that." And I kind of was of the mindset a little bit. And I think I talked about this on one of the post games. I think it was with Johnny earlier in the week, that, the fact of the matter is the video came out and that it showed that Tim had actually pushed or had made contact with Tim Timmons. Now we can get in and we can debate why Tim Timmons was getting in his face in the first place, and another example of umpires not being held accountable. So that's one aspect of it here. But you didn't see Tony really kind of coming out and sticking up for the umpire, so to speak, in that spot, when you may well have thought that was the response that he was going to take.
I'm just wondering, Steve, and this is just me pondering questions, while I'm thinking about baseball. Did Tony La Russa change? Did Tony La Russa change? Did he learn things with this group?
I think there definitely has been some evolution to his thought process on things this year. And I'll give you one example, and this is something that I believe is going to be very important going into the postseason. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season that we'd be going into October into a series against the Houston Astros, that Luis Robert would most likely be hitting second in your order, I would have said there's no fucking way. We started the year with Adam Eaton hitting in that spot, and I just thought that Tony was going to be, and that was one of the biggest concerns I had about him when the hire was made. And I expressly said this, I pray to God that Adam Eaton is not hitting in that number 2 spot on opening day. And he was up until he was ultimately designated for assignment there. But we're seeing that he has evolved his mindset of not just having, the small little slappy guy in that number 2 spot. He's learning and he's realizing that, look, Luis Robert, this guy's an absolute monster. We're seeing with the tanks that he's been hitting lately. You got to have this guy up as high as possible in the order here to where he can do some damage. You put him sandwiched between Jose Abreu and Tim Anderson to start a game off right there. Good luck with that.
I'll turn it to Buzz in just 1 second just to kind of put a bow tie on this. But one thing I'll say, Steve, is that Tony La Russa had been out of the managerial role for a long time. I think smart people can identify, adapt, make things happen. I think that he adapted to this role just like, he would in any other role that he's done. I think that a lot of people thought that he was going to be too old, whatever. La Russa's smart. He knows baseball. He figured it out. And I think that there hasn't been a lot of credit given for how he adapted to certain things, like you said, how to build a lineup in modern baseball, how to do this stuff. There was going to be some growing pains. The Yerman Mercedes stuff was a little bit of a growing pain. It was also, as you pointed out, at least in my opinion, something that, the narrative that wanted to be pushed was being pushed based on people not liking the hire. Buzz, any last words on the La Russa, just the managerial experience of 2021?
I think that him being away from the game, and not away from the game itself, but away from the clubhouse role for 12 years, I think with age comes patience, but I also think that with, the role that he was put in to come manage this young team and understanding the different personalities that are on the team and knowing the team from just still being around the game of baseball. It's not like he was off playing fucking golf every day. That's not what it was. He was in a front office. A lot of people don't like to talk about that. They did in the beginning, but not so much anymore. I'd love to give him a lot of credit for adapting as a season to help build lineups, but I would also like to give, a lot of credit to Miguel Cairo and those guys too. And maybe even Rick Hahn to a certain extent, that maybe Tony was more willing to take advice or hear their thoughts out to help, build a lineup in not only his vision, but theirs as well. When you look in the clubhouse, you just kind of see like a team atmosphere, and they're all willing to fight for each other. They're all willing to, it seems to listen to each other and respect each other's opinions. And that's why I think this team's gone as far as they have. And that's the thing. I give Tony La Russa a ton of credit, but there's guys behind him too that I think help make it happen for him, whether that's players or his staff or even Rick Hahn himself. But it shows that, he did adapt, like you and Steve used that word, adapt, to where he is at now, to be open-minded, to make adjustments. And he had the talent there. He took all that into consideration. He probably knew that himself as well as he got his feet wet and the season started progressing where he's in the grind every single day. And that's what helped him. And I think that's a great thing to have, is an open line of communication in the clubhouse where all opinions of the people that contribute to that team are welcome. And that's why you see where the Sox are, where they're at right now. And I give him a ton of credit for that too.
All things considered, guys, I think from a managerial, coaching staff, front office this season, it's been one of the better years as a White Sox fan.
I think it might be the best we ever saw, Tony, but outside of 05.
Outside of some of the drama and the things that were pushed within the media, I think that from a coaching staff standpoint, yes, we had our gripes with lineups. We're always going to have gripes with lineups. We're baseball fans. Every single one of us wants to be the manager, the GM of this team. We want to be able to put the guys where we want to see them. That's why video games exist. That's why fantasy baseball exists. We want to do that. We want to have that power. But to an extent, guys, when it's all said and done, and we're looking at this roster right now, as Steve said, the right guy that the most collective of us want in the 2-hole is in the 2-hole. There's 1 through 7, guys, there's really not many ways to fuck this lineup up. We're just lucky we're healthy heading into October. And I think that that's very understated. Moving along with the season, just for the sake of time here, Steve, I want to talk a little bit about the Field of Dreams game, just how fucking awesome that experience was to get to experience with you. And if we're talking about one of my favorite baseball seasons of the year, man, I would be remiss if I wasn't going to sit here on the final day of the season and say, number one, thank you to you for making that happen. Number two, what a cool experience that was. And, for as fun and as exciting and as roller coaster of emotions as we went through in that game, I just got to say to all the listeners, you do not know what that drive home back to the hotel was like. Getting out of the Field of Dreams game was just, you go from here to like just full alert real quick. Steve, thoughts on the Field of Dreams game and the experience getting back to the hotel for you and I, just to shed some light for all the listeners.
Man, I'll take it back even a step further. So 6 days before even getting to go out there, first inning as the Sox are opening up the weekend series against the Cubs at Wrigley, I'm working from home that day, and I get a call from my ticket rep. And he says, hey, some other season ticket holders passed on the opportunity to go to the Field of Dreams game. You're next up in the lottery. You can get 2 tickets. You got to pay the money right up front. You want them, yes or no? And without hesitation, I'm just like, yeah, absolutely. This is a once-in-a-lifetime shot. You got to do this. And so, then obviously we had the conversation in the garage the next day. Wheels were put in motion, and we made that decision to make the trek out there to Iowa. And just an experience that you can't really put a price on. And to go out there to see the first game take place in that environment, and like you talked about, just the highs and lows of that thing, from the Sox really being in command of that game for a good portion of it to giving up the lead in the 9th inning because of the two-run homers that the Yankees hit, and for Timmy to be the guy ultimately to put that game away and hit that walk-off home run. And I remember turning to you when Sebi Zavala was up, when he hit that little chopper down the third baseline that Rougned Odor did not feel that he allowed to roll foul. And I said, just let Timmy get up here and walk this shit off. And then Zavala has a hell of an at-bat, works that walk, and then Timmy just nuked that thing, first pitch, and that thing just shot out like a cannon into the night, landed in the corn, and that place just went absolutely ballistic. I know you and I, we had a hell of a time just jumping around like children, watching that, and being there for that experience was something that I'm never going to forget, obviously. And to be there with you, that was really special. And then, you go from the highs of that to getting into the parking lot, finding a flat tire in my car from apparently some piece of metal from one of the dirt gravel roads that somehow got lodged in there, getting filled up, and then having to make an hour-and-a-half drive back to Davenport, where our hotel was, and just being on. You want to talk about being on high alert right there? I don't think that I got above 60 miles an hour that entire ride home, and doing that at 11:30 at night, starting that drive there. It was a tense moment. We made it back. We made it back in one piece, thankfully, and we're here to be able to talk about the experience today.
Absolutely was, Steve. And I've just got to say, like, the whole experience was something to behold. As a White Sox fan, as a baseball fan, I can't thank you enough for that and just the opportunity to do that. But man, we went from jumping around like children. My cell phone, I don't know if I've shown you the video. I'm sure you probably have seen it. I was taking a video when Timmy hit that thing, and the guy in front of me like whacks the phone out of my hand, and it almost falls down those bleachers. And we were like, I don't know, 18 rows up. Those bleachers, you already had to go up a flight of stairs, and my phone lands just gracefully, half on, half off that bottom bleacher to fall all the way down onto that rocky surface that was below. And I'm just thinking to myself, imagine what would have happened, Steve. It's October, it's spooky season. Imagine what would have happened if your phone died and my phone was completely cracked and we had a flat tire in Iowa in a cornfield that we parked in. Bad things could have happened. I'm so happy we're still here talking about White Sox baseball.
That is, look, that's the plot of a horror movie right there. I mean, I feel like if that phone misses by like another inch right there, and like you talked about, who knows, we might end up stranded on the side of the road in a cornfield in Iowa somewhere, and they may never see us again.
Children of the Corn would have got you.
Yeah, I mean, I may have never gotten
Field
to
of
return
Screams.
I may have never gotten to return to Twitter.com.
Field of Screams. Starring Tony and Steve. Steve, just overall, I think, we go back to that baseball game, was an incredible moment for this team. I think overall, on the national stage, the White Sox have been somewhat of an embarrassment through most of our lives. For a minute, for each of us, I know, Buzz, you watched this at home, but when Timmy hit that walk-off home run, and more people were tuned into baseball than anything else in the world, and the White Sox took center stage, and you felt that happening, what did it mean to you, Buzz? What did that mean to you?
Oh, it meant everything. That's just a thing that I've like kind of built like the whole base off of, right? Is like, Chicago never gets their due within the media. Even like we'll talk about the Northsiders for a second here. Like, even though, they are the lovable losers and they got their love in the national media, but they were always called the lovable losers, whatever, it just always felt like we always got shit on that. And that spans across a bunch of sports, Tone. I mean, I know that we had the Blackhawks run in the 2010s, but even before that, if they were on national TV, it was usually an embarrassment. The Bulls, they had their little run on TNT or whatever, but usually then even the last couple of years, they gotten even taken off of it because they've been so goddamn bad. When you see something like that for your arguably my favorite team, I've always said on the show, I don't know how to pick. It's so hard, but watching that at home and watching Tim Anderson hit the home run in the intro, I know I say I'm a homer, blah, 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 but like there was a moment like in time where you're just like, this is the most watched thing in America right now. Like the ratings were through the roof, and our team, the team that we've watched organically grow and that we believe in, does something like that's amazing. It was amazing. And I of course wish I could have been there during the week. Kind of hard for me, but I wish I could have been there, but being here and watching it was just unfucking real, dude. It was a cool moment. It was like almost like a kind of like I made it moment where if you already had like belief in this team, it just got amplified. That's what it was, just amazing.
Steve?
I think Buzz pretty much summed up my sentiments on it. It was, hey, America, get to know us because you're going to be seeing a lot more of us here, not only this season, but in seasons to come. And we got a lot more star power coming back too.
Yeah, it's not just a one-off, and that's exactly it, Steve. It's not just a one-off. Like this wasn't, it's a huge surprise that they're kicking ass. Like people thought they could. And a lot of people did think they could, and when they actually capitalize off a moment, get to do it, it's amazing. It's a really great moment, and hopefully that carries into the playoffs.
That's my next segue point right here, Buzz. You didn't even look at my rundown.
I haven't looked at your rundown at all. I just it's that twin telepathy.
It is. It's fantastic. I'm going to push this one along, but the fact that they did it on the big stage in Iowa, I think lends well to them going into the playoffs. You look at what the White Sox have done since the Field of Dreams game. We've had question marks in the rotation. We've had question marks in the bullpen. Kind of graze over the trade deadline here. You add Craig Kimbrell. You add Ryan Tepera. You add Cesar Hernandez to this ball club. Coming down the stretch, Cesar hasn't had the best of luck, let's say. Neither has Craig Kimbrell. Ryan Tepera started out rocky, comes through when you need him, gets injured. Now he's back. We'll see what we get out of him. But Johnny loves him, and that's why he's on my notes, because shout out Johnny.
He's been good, too.
He loves Ryan Tepera. He has been good. But you come down the stretch here. You finally clinch the division. There was a little bit of that 05 feel that people don't want to talk about down the stretch, because the White Sox, we can't argue it, were not as good as they were in the second half as they were in the first half.
Yeah.
There were some narratives about this team where they could not beat good teams, playoff teams. Steve, I think you wrote something about that on a little website called OnTapSportsNet.com. Not sure. Maybe we'll, direct people to go check that out. I'll give you the floor here in a second. But if you look at the second half for this White Sox team, question marks, doubts, celebrations, little bit of a mixed bag, somewhat of maintaining the status quo down the stretch. And then they turn it up in the final week. You see the incident with Abreu. We talked about that at length on our last episode. We're heading into now probably one of the biggest series that we've gotten up for in a long time. I know last year in Oakland was big, but this one has a different feel towards it.
Tony, you hit on a couple of key points right there. Obviously, this team was, I think, for lack of a better term, treading water for a good portion of the second half. And, the national narratives that go out there regarding them not being able to beat quality teams was simply a function of them, going 1-5 against the Yankees and 2-5 against the Astros without their full complement of everyday players. I feel pretty confidently that if the Yankees had played all those games without Aaron Judge, without Giancarlo Stanton, and if you take out two other starters that are of consequence to them, they probably would struggle too. So that narrative that goes out there, it is what it is. We saw this team win series at home against Toronto, against Tampa, against Boston, against Oakland, against Houston. So, and let's not lose sight of the fact that this team had the best home record in all of Major League Baseball in 2021. That's a big deal right there. So this thing that they can't beat the quality teams, I'm sorry, give me a break on this. They're fully assembled now at this point. Now we roll. Buzz's beard is playoff ready. You got to give that credit. I mean, that's pure sex right there.
I mean, I'm glad he's on the show because I've got like a couple other notes that I wanted to go to if he was on here. So we'll touch on those in a second.
But I'm a little worried, actually.
But my last point that I want to make here is, you talk about the incidents in Detroit with Jose Abreu, and Steve Stone talked about that being a little bit of a galvanizing moment for this team. But you really saw, going back to Cleveland last week, when they clinched that division on the Indians' home field, certain somebody got up at, left at 5:30 in the morning there so he could be there to witness it. Not naming any names or anything like that because,
I know you were there.
Because
I know you were there.
Because, somebody technically was working, that day. So, let's just be mindful of that.
I know you were there.
Definitely didn't start drinking at noon. No. I would never do that on a work day. Never. And, to see the Sox just go down there and dismantle the Cleveland Indians and have that be the final memory we ever have of that pitiful, despicable franchise was very delicious. And they really carried it over into this week against Cincinnati and against Detroit. And people were concerned. You go back about 2 weeks ago saying that this team was, just faltering and floundering heading into the playoffs. Now, all of a sudden, that narrative has kind of shifted a little bit. I know I was being a little bit of a smartass at the start of the show here, talking about them not having momentum. But the fact of the matter is they've won 7 out of 10 here coming into the playoffs. They're healthy. They're ready to go. This team can beat anybody.
Could you ask for more? You just laid out the record. Could you ask for more? We talked about a couple of weeks ago, Steve, and I'll ask you the same question, Buzz. Johnny and I talked about it. The narrative of waiting for people to get hot and them to start clicking and turning on the next gear. Could you ask for more than that right there?
I don't know that you really can. Obviously, you would have liked to have seen them not drop 3 series to Kansas City in the span of a month and drop a series to Detroit, which ultimately cost them home field coming up here in this series against Houston.
It cost them more than home field. I'm sure it knocked a few seconds off of Hawk Harrelson's life as well, which...
listen, pour one out for Hawk. Hawk's the man. But the fact of the matter is, I think that they're rolling here at the right time. we're seeing them, starting to put together better at bats and having a little bit more consistency offensively. The pitching has gotten the job done. Liam Hendricks and Aaron Bummer, my guy, have been just absolute nails at the back end of this bullpen, and they are going to be so important for this team here as we head into October against the Houston Astros. So I feel really good about where this group is at right now.
Buzz guy.
I think you could always ask for more, right? Like just more consistent, not more consistency, or like, it's like money, right? You can always have more of it. You could always have more, dynamic players. But no, where we're at right now and everything that kind of transpired this season, I kind of feel like this team's going to be, like Steve said, I feel like they can beat anybody. So I'm cloud nine, and honestly.
I mean, look what the St. Louis Cardinals did, guys. We are not up to par right now. Steve talks about every game matters. St. Louis just has it right now, guys. They're unbeatable.
Oh, my God. What a cool story that would be, huh? What a cool story that would be. Sox St. Louis. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be a cool story, but I think I texted Steve with this one. I know I told Jen about it and I tweeted it. I said, this is the simulation is lazy, right? We're getting Houston. We're going to Boston. And then we're going to LA. Because that's what it knows. That's what's going to happen. Meatball take, I don't know what it is. But that's just a feeling for me. Because you look at it, you can't play Houston in the World Series. So what do you got to do? You got to play him in the DS. Boston's right there next in line in your league. You got to play a team from LA if you want that championship. Don't stop believing, boys. That's what's going to happen.
Sign me up, baby.
Yeah, I'm ready. I want all the smoke.
Let's boogie.
I want it all.
That's just what I think is going to happen. Probably won't. Probably won't.
I just went on this spiel about how I think it's going to happen. Probably won't.
It probably won't. But it would be so White Sox if it did.
Yeah, but Buzz, you're a homer, so you always say they're gonna.
I always say they're gonna. They're gonna win the fucking World Series, man. I'm getting ready to make a fucking White Sox World Series shuffle.
I'd be really cool.
Ooh.
I'd be really cool with them.
Can we get Johnny involved in this? We could do a Sox on Tap.
Yeah, absolutely.
World Series shuffle.
Yeah, I'm gonna get down and boogie, and people are gonna be like, I tried dancing Friday at the tailgate. Steve saw it was not good. I'll blame that.
I think it was great.
Oh wow, thanks, man.
I think it was great.
Been working real hard at it.
It was not safe for work, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, definitely not safe for work.
Were you twerking in the parking lot?
I don't have an ass. I can't.
Oh, I think we've reached the after dark period of the show. Steve.
That happens often when Steve and I are on.
He's got that flat pancake ass.
Yeah, it's just there's nothing. There's nothing there.
You guys have me off schedule right now.
I'm sorry. I know we're running late.
You have me off schedule. Steve's got to get to bed. He's the one who told me a hard stop at 10 o'clock, which gives us one more minute of Steve.
Let's keep rolling here.
Let's keep rolling.
I got a hard stop too.
You got a hard stop too. All right. So just last things as we head into the playoffs, guys. We've all gotten out to the ballpark a couple of times this year, maybe 2-3 times. Steve, Buzz, favorite moments in the ballpark this year? Sunday Funday topic. Favorite moments in the ballpark. I don't know who wants it first. I'll just go to whoever starts talking.
Buzz, I'll go ahead and defer to you on this one.
I had a lot. I
go ahead and list a couple.
I think I'm just going to give my number one. My number one was the Trastros tailgate, in which we absolutely demolished that piñata that you guys made. You and Jen made. That was probably my favorite game. I mean, I know we didn't end up winning that, but it was super sweet. I thought that was a really good game. I really enjoyed the opening weekend, which was, what was that, June 20 or July 26th? June 26th. June 26th was 100% capacity. I had a great, we got the truck down there. Shane Reardon, myself, Summer of George, Tony, you came rolling through. Steve was there right away. Beer, Stone Cold beer bombs and mudslides and cutting my chest up and bleeding everywhere. That was pretty sweet. There's just a ton of great moments. The game, Tony, that you and I went to, the one we took the train down to, and then we missed our train home and had to Uber all the way back to the burbs.
Good times.
What was it, back-to-back home, or was it back-to-back that game?
Home runs back to back. I think you took a picture with a chicken. You might have touched. You might have kissed the chicken.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was, dude.
I mean, he was hitting on you.
It was eyeballing me a little bit. Had to let him know, I'm game. I'm ready to party.
Buzz put his mouth on a.
Yeah, yes, it did. I did,
and that was after the CDC said.
Yeah, no, I mean,
there was problems with chickens and salmonella, same day. And Buzz was laying his mouth all over it.
Yeah, all of it.
That thing was not cooked.
Yeah, it was not cooked. It was actually alive.
It was raw.
Yeah, it was raw.
It was raw chicken.
Yeah, but I think that was probably my favorite moments of the season. I went to so many games, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to everybody. They know what we do when we go there. We have a great time. We drink some beers. Friday was one of the best games that I've been to. We did not move from our seats besides to go get more beer. And I think Steve and I put down 6 hot dogs a piece because we were just like, we drink so much alcohol, we needed to absorb it. But that was a great, fantastic game. Abreu's home run. That was like, I'll say that it's probably one of my favorite home runs I've ever seen in person. That thing hung forever. It was like Pat O'Donnell making a punt for the Bears that just had a hang time of like 8 seconds. Like, we're just watching it like, yeah, it's going to stay fair. Yeah, it's still up there. It was just amazing. Like, a lot of great times, man. A lot of great times this year and in a special season. I can't pick.
Steve.
For me, the ones that really jump out, the home opener, and we talked about this in our midseason show, just being able to be back in the ballpark finally after a year of not being able to go and watch this team in person. That was obviously a very big and emotional moment for me and for a lot of people. The first initial 100% capacity tailgate, June 26th, like we talked about, Buzz. I mean, that was just an absolute blast. Just going out there, acting a fool, stone cold in the beers. I mean, that was a fun ass day. Really, really was. Me and Johnny being able to go and take in that doubleheader against the Twins when we saw Tony's baby boy hit the walk-off home run against Jose Barrios, and I may or may not have been recorded making a little statement that is still living on the internet here today to this very moment. Yes. That was a lot of fun. And like Buzz said, this past Friday, just the atmosphere in the ballpark there, being there, everybody knowing that this team is not done, that this is a division championship. And there was just a vibe and there was just an aura that was palpable in and around the ballpark. The game itself was electric. Sox coming back. In that game, Abreu hitting that 30th home run and then just putting a pounding on them the rest of that way. And then we had a chance to go off for a little bit afterwards, go to Cork, and that place was just jumping. The electricity in and around the ballpark is insane. I don't think we really understand what we have waiting for us a week from today, boys.
Absolutely, guys. I'll just give a few of mine throughout the season. Obviously, you guys touched on a lot of them. First full capacity tailgate, seeing Buzz do a mudslide, just some ridiculous shit. I love that because my chest didn't get cut up and his did. So
there was glass in there, man.
Yeah, that's what I love. I will always advocate for someone else to do something crazy. The Field of Dreams game, Steve, I touched on that. One of the coolest things to ever get to experience. I think that was awesome. Got to take my son to a couple of games this year that I think that were really cool for him, just seeing how invested my kid is into baseball and understanding who players are on the roster. Him getting up for Liam Hendricks in the 9th inning. Like, that to me was just an awesome sight as a baseball fan myself and as a father getting to witness that. Buzz, some of the games that you and I got to take in, I know we had like a stretch of like a couple of weeks going there where
hashtag dad's night.
Yeah, it was like a weekly thing for you and I to get out to the ballpark. I remember giving you your first Uber ride back to New Lenox. That was awesome because you're like, "What's an Uber?" And I'm like,
"That was my first Uber ride ever."
It was like your first Uber ride ever, and I remember
paranoid
you
the whole way home. Like,
yeah, you like leaned into me,
us,
like
bro.
You leaned into me at one point. You're like, "Is this guy gonna like kidnap us?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. That's part of the fun of Uber." That was awesome, especially when I got out of the car and you had to drive all the way back to New Lenox. Loved that night. Couple other things too, man. Guys, like the night that we got to have in the suite for On Tap was awesome. We got to experience the game. Everybody from the Sox on Tap show was there. We all had a good night. I think that was fantastic. The Sox won. Obviously, there were some injury issues that popped up during it, but that was really cool to get to witness. But overall, I think the best moment that I had this season was witnessing my new favorite baseball player hit his first career home run, and that was Gavin Sheets. And the only thing that could top that was getting to go to a new ballpark in Milwaukee. I've never been there. Jen and I took a trip up there. A lot of the Sox on Tap guys did. Buzz, you did as well. Getting to go up to another ballpark, watching the Sox take batting practice. They lost both those games, but it was just cool to see the Sox in a different atmosphere. Ran into Herb Lawrence, ran into Chuck Naso from Barstool, ran into a couple different people who all love this White Sox team. Buzz, I don't think you and I got to see each other there. Comiskey was there. Berkland was there. It was everybody from Chicago traveled to see the White Sox up in Milwaukee. I thought that was awesome. It was really cool. I think there was just a lot of different experiences that I had around this team this year that, created memories that are going to last a lifetime around this regular season. I want to see them tie a bow tie on it. And as Steve said, I'll segue this back. I don't think we know what's happening come next Thursday. And I think that there's some other special surprises for this White Sox team because, as I've said all year, this team just has it. And Steve, you like to phrase it a little bit different.
How do I phrase it, Tone?
You tell me, man. You've come up with like 4 or 5 different sayings here over the course of the year.
Oh,
and there might be a viral video out there of you on a certain website.
Something about ball go far, team go far.
That's one of them.
That's one. Yeah.
That's one of them.
Either that or a little bit of White Sox for life.
White Sox forever.
White Sox forever, bro. All the time. Like, that's the thing. We've been saying that forever through the trials and tribulations of bullshit since we started this podcast in 2019. That was the saying, and Steve came on with the for life. Look, dude, we're on the way. Thursday can't come quick enough.
And here's one other thing that I want to say. I was fortunate enough to get to go watch this team clinch the division on the Indians' home field, and that is a memory that I will always cherish. I want to travel, and I want to go and I want to watch some more clinchers on the road. It would be really cool to see them clinch the pennant or clinch a World Series here in Chicago. But there's a big part of me. I want to get my ass on an airplane, and I want to go watch them celebrate on somebody else's field. That would just be too sweet, dare I say.
Add an insult to injury, baby.
Wow.
I love it.
It's coming through with it. I've tried to hold the host role throughout this show. Buzz, you're here, so I'm going to turn the reins over to you to close it down like we always do. But before we get to that, guys, it's always awesome to talk about White Sox baseball with you. This has been a special season. I hope we get to do this late into October because I love talking about White Sox baseball with you guys. I hope we're actually talking about White Sox games because I think it would be so cool to just experience a deep run into the playoffs with all you guys, talking about this team, breaking them down every single night. It could be so awesome to just talk about a World Series winning game with this crew. I think we'd have a lot of fun. I think we're right there. I don't know about you guys, but that excites me.
I don't know if our livers would survive.
I don't know if they would. Who knows?
Mine's still recovering from Saturday or Friday. Well, actually, technically Saturday.
Yeah. Actually, technically Saturday. I don't know how this would go down, but to all the listeners out there, just stay with us because it would be crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna get real weird. Dude.
It's gonna get real weird. Absolutely. We might go after dark. We might have to censor Steve. We might actually have to block something out here.
Listen, I just know that come next Sunday, whatever time that game starts, man, it's going to be the party of the decade. I mean, this thing is 13 years in the making. I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe we go Seinfeld. Maybe we paint SOX on our chests. Who knows? It could happen. I'm
Is
not going to
Johnny
rule it
the
out.
exclamation part?
He might have to be. We may not have a choice. All I know is the beer's going to be flowing like wine. Lot B is going to be hopping. And baby, I can't wait. Inject this into my fucking veins. Let's go.
Last topic on the night, Buzz, before we close it down.
What?
Playoff beards.
I already got mine, bro. I ain't doing this shit again. I'm not shaving it again. Stop it. That's what you're implying, and I'm getting tired of it. We're fighting now. He did it, Steve. He's always doing it.
I can't get out of here without starting a little something. I'm going to put Steve in the middle of us. He's going to be
I've already got mine. I'm not doing it again. But I will say, if the Sox win the World Series, I said I would never do this. But if they do win the World Series, I am getting Sox tattoo. It's happening. Said I would never get a sports team tattooed on me. If they win the World Series, I'm getting one. I'll let you guys pick it out.
Tony La Russa's face.
God damn it. All right, fine. Can it be a character? Because like those
portraits. Wait a minute, Tony. You missed a perfect opening right there.
You already said it.
Oh, Steve, tell me where you're going with
No.
A certain broadcaster who may share a first name with me.
Steve Stone. That would be fantastic.
All
Steve Stone and Tony La Russa hugging.
See you guys later. This. All right. Whatever. All right. Whatever. Is it time to lead out now?
It's time to lead out, Buzz. I'm going to hand you the honors.
Everybody be sure to go on TapSportsNet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Following us on Twitter at Sox On Tap, at On Tap Sportsnet. Following Steve at NWI_Steve. Following Tony at Tony On Tap, me at Buzz On Tap. Anywhere you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to us. 5-star rating and review because that's cool and tough. Be sure you're checking out Grandstand. Any White Sox gear you need, go over to Grandstand. Find them on socials at Grandstand Sox. Go to grandstandsox.com. Like Tony mentioned in the beginning of the outro here, be with us during this. Talk with us. Join the post-game shows. Tweet at us. Whatever the hell you want to do. Any means of communication you want. Let's do this together. Let's get it done.
If you want to, tweet at me and tell me I'm an idiot for suggesting that the Sox should stretch out Michael Kopech, feel free to do so and let me know how it works out for you.
He came for blood, and he'll be here for blood.
Sometimes we wake up and choose violence. Buzz, just let everybody know that we'll be doing a Houston Astros breakdown, the series breakdown later this week, because we're gonna try and promote that one a little better than we normally do. I'm excited, guys. Excited.
It'll be either Tuesday or Wednesday night. We will put the tweets out there on what day it will be, but very important, if you're here at the end of the show, be sure you're going to our YouTube and subscribing so we can talk alongside of it. Let's make it an interactive thing. Let's talk. You want to even get on the stream with us, let us know. We have no problems accommodating doing that. We'd love to talk to everybody. We'd love to have fun with this and make it as interactive as possible so we could talk to Sox fans and see how they feel about it. That's all I have tonight, boys. White Sox forever.
White Sox forever.
Sox for